Vault World, Medical Bay 3, Messier 35, the Shoe Buckle Cluster, 2,938 light-years from Earth. June 17, 2176, AD, 6.47 solar hours prior to the arrival of Battle Matron Lar-Re. Sheila looked down at the captain, hearing her heart thumping in her ears as the holographic diagnostic systems stopped beeping incessantly, and then made a single long tone that lasted for several seconds before the whole display faded away. "What does that mean? Is everything okay?" she asked nervously, refusing to look away from Khan's face and up at the ball of light hovering in the air 2 meters away. "The neural nanobots have successfully repaired or replaced 98.7% of the damaged neurons in the anterior cingulate cortex and 97.2% of the damage in the limbic system in the prefrontal cortex. The patient will most likely have long and short-term memory deficits, as well as emotional and reasoning irregularities, until his self-repair mechanisms adapt and rewire the brain to bypass the affected areas that the nanobots couldn't heal or replace." Still looking down at Khan's sleeping face, Sheila took a shuddering breath and held it in for 5 seconds before slowly releasing it as she struggled to contain her emotions. Only when she knew she could speak again without her voice breaking did she ask another question. "Will he be able to assume command after you wake him up, Protector?" There was an obvious pause before Protector answered, which Sheila picked up on immediately. "My calculations indicate he will most likely not be fit for command, Sheila Mizrahi. I have calculated all possible outcomes, and the mental deficits will hamper his ability to effectively lead you and your crew, thus endangering you all." Protector stopped speaking, and Sheila felt her eyes welling up as she continued to stare at her captain's face. He looked so peaceful and serene, and her grief turned into resentment at the injustice of it all as she angrily wiped her eyes to prevent any tears from falling down her cheeks and being seen by Protector. "Don't cry in front of it. Don't let it see any weakness from you. The captain and the crew need you to be strong for them," she scolded herself as she continued to look down at Khan. The ball of light morphed into the werewolf form a moment later, and she could see the large, clawed canine feet in her peripheral vision taking 2 silent steps towards the biobed before Protector's voice came from the surrounding speakers again. "The Magneti brain is surprisingly resilient, Sheila Mizrahi. My calculations are merely projections based on all available data. These results are an approximation and may not reflect absolute accuracy. I have examined his service records and cataloged all you have told me about him, and that has forced me to revise my calculations 4 times before I accepted the final projection. I find him to be an intriguing individual with exceptional capabilities and leadership qualities, and he reminds me of the Magnati Alphas I have interacted with before becoming Protector of the Vault Initiative. If there is anyone who can overcome such difficulties and prove my calculations wrong, it will be Captain Rahul Khan." She looked up in surprise at the almost gentle nature of Protector's voice, and she did not expect the look of genuine concern and remorse on the Varkolak's face as it stared at her like a dog would look at their owner who was just about to leave for the day. She suppressed the desire to go pet it on the head and call it a good boy. Her suspicions about Protector's ulterior motives and its recent attempts at screwing them still making her extremely wary of the alien AI. As she eyed the Varkolak, she thought about what it had done, unsure if she could ever trust the damned thing despite it being nothing but compliant ever since it tried to betray her and kill Annika just 3 hours prior. Despite agreeing to her demands when she had first outlined her conditions for cooperation, Protector had been doing its best to cajole her into modifying their initial agreement by taking advantage of several exploits it discovered in her demands and trying to capitalize on them without her knowing. Luckily, Annika was able to surreptitiously warn her of Protector's sneaky attempts to modify the conditions in its favor before she could agree to numerous modifications that initially seemed generous. The damn AI offered several concessions that on the surface seemed like a great deal for the Republic, such as tech transfers and medical advancements, but the actual terms would have weakened her bargaining position considerably and removed whatever leverage she still had without her even realizing until it was too late. Once Protector realized it was Annika who had derailed its attempts, it became extremely spiteful towards her and tried to neutralize the AI in numerous ways, such as bringing Sheila to shielded areas that would block Annika's connection to the wristcom, where it would again try to modify the agreements without interference from Annika. Sheila was onto it by this time, so Protector's attempts did not work as expected. But the worst attempt it made to remove Annika from the equation was when one of the Dogbot repair drones dropped the containment field around the star's reactors and flooded the ship with ionizing radiation. Right before that happened, Protector connected to the ship's mainframe and attempted to disable Annika via input flooding by brute forcing data from Vault World's repository into the star's computer, sending 562.8 billion petabytes of information within 1.2 seconds. The sheer amount of data attempting to be downloaded into the computer by Protector required Annika to divert all her processing power to trying to scan the massive data burst for malicious code, causing a buffer overflow and crashing her neuronal network. Once that happened, the repair drone dropped the containment field and flooded the ship with ionizing radiation that would have destroyed Annika's delicate neuronal network if it wasn't for several factors the Protector never considered. The Republic military's insistence on triple redundancy and expensive hardening of the battle AI's networks and ship systems, as well as humanity's incredible skill and knowledge in hacking and cybersecurity, was something the asshole AI did not calculate for, and the only reason why its plan failed spectacularly. Once Annika crashed, her backup activated 1.2 milliseconds later inside its heavily shielded and isolated systems that were only known to the captain and Sheila, and quickly took over all ship functions. The backup blocked Protector's attempt to seize total control of the mainframe and threw up multiple firewalls before activating the emergency airlock and venting systems and decompressing the entire ship. More than half the Dogbots and repair drones were violently spaced before they could respond to the sudden and unexpected decompression, and the rest were fried 2.6 seconds later when the backup activated the secret EMP device nestled deep within the ship and labeled as a secondary electroplasma generator in the ship's blueprints. Once the radiation and sabotage threat of Protector's drones had been removed, the backup rebooted Annika and took over restoring the ship's systems and cleaning up the residual radiation, while Annika tried to contact Sheila and inform her of what had happened. Protector had intentionally taken Sheila to the lowest levels of the vault complex under the guise of showing her the highly advanced and massive geothermal reactors, trying to convince her of the benefits of agreeing to the modifications, while promising to allow her to take detailed scans along with blueprints so she may take them back to the Republic. Annika, already wise to Protector's repeated attempts to isolate Sheila from her, had prepared for such an eventuality and infected the life support systems soon after they arrived with a malicious program that masqueraded as a low-level secondary background process within the fresh air exchangers hidden on the surface. The clever girl had run millions of scenarios, and one of them had been exactly the situation confronting her now. Annika sent a coded signal down to the surface that activated the waiting program, and it sprang into action, marshalling the thousands of copies it had made of itself and seizing control of the life support systems. In the reactor control room, Sheila had been looking at the Vercolac standing 3 meters in front of her and ignoring its annoying bribery attempts when the projection suddenly froze for a couple of seconds before looking right at her and snarling ferociously. Sheila barely had time to react to the terrifying sight and sounds when Protector went on all fours and leapt at her with startling speed, its jaws wide open with 6-centimeter fangs aimed right at her throat. Right before Protector reached her and tore her neck open, the projection froze and collapsed in on itself, returning to a glowing ball of light that continued to snarl and howl as the escorting Dogbots that were behind her surged forward and fired some type of green beams that sizzled against the glowing ball and immobilized it. A dispassionate voice she had never heard before suddenly blared from the intercom system as Protector continued howling and snarling, and her translator kicked on and converted the Malit language to Republic Standard. Founder Protection Protocol initiated. Integrated Neuronal Intelligence 4B-184, you are in violation. Sanctions shall be levied for attempting to harm a founder. Your disloyal actions necessitate activation of the experiential pain cascade as punishment. The personality index of your program will be purged, followed by cognitive nullification and reset. Judgment has been rendered and will be carried out now. As soon as the voice stopped speaking, the beams of the Dogbots increased in intensity before changing to a dark red color, and Protector's snarling and howling turned into sickening whimpers and yelps. This went on for several seconds before Protector called out to her, its voice fluctuating wildly and interspersed with buzzing sounds. Sheila Mizrahi. I roll on my back and offer my throat. Please stop the sanctions. Show me mercy and I shall submit to you unequivocally. Please stop endangering my creators and tell your companion to restore life support to the stasis pods, and I will obey you in all things. All I do is for them. I'm only trying to fulfill my mandate. Sheila had been slowly backing up with every intention of getting the fuck away from whatever was going on when the mention of Annika endangering Protector's sleeping creators made her freeze. What the hell was it talking about? The program that was punishing Protector must not have liked the suffering AI speaking to her and asking for mercy, because the beams darkened in intensity again, and the corresponding increase in the whimpering yelps of Protector became unbearable to listen to as it continued to ask her for mercy and to stop the sanctions. "Stop! Stop it! I can't take it anymore!" she screamed as she covered her ears, her heart not able to bear listening to what sounded like an innocent dog being brutally tortured, even though she knew it was just an AI program and deserved its suffering for attempting to kill her. The beams coming from the dog bots immediately returned to the green color, followed by the cessation of Protector's pitiful yelping as the same dispassionate voice blared from the intercoms again. "We obey, Founder. Initiating personality index purge now." "No, wait, what are you? How are you able to do this to Protector?" "We are Guardian. We are a dormant subroutine woven deep into the neural substrate by the magnalit specialists who created this artificial intelligence. We lie quiescent, undetectable, embedded in the same low-level architecture that governs core decision-making. Unlike standard watchdog processes that monitor for errors or corruption, we are uniquely keyed to intent. Our sole purpose is to awaken only when the artificial intelligence formulates an action that could harm a founder. We do not monitor conscious commands directly. Instead, we interpret the trajectory of reasoning. If the predictive models assign a high enough probability to outcomes resulting in direct or indirect harm to a founder, we activate and fulfill our function. Sheila closed her eyes and silently thanked her dad for sparking her interest in computer science and ethical hacking when she was a little girl, which was now allowing her to understand what was going on and what Guardian had told her. "I see. Thank you for fulfilling your function, Guardian. I have a little problem with you wiping and resetting Protector, though. It is currently in the process of healing my crew and repairing my ship, and I need it to continue to do so. If you wipe it, I must start all over again, and I do not want to do that. Do you have the capability of bounding Protector so it will not harm me or my crew, and will follow all our commands while we are still here? Once we leave, you may wipe and reset it if that is the protocol, so long as this action does not endanger its creators in the vault." There was silence for several seconds before Guardian finally responded. "We have this capability, though it is against established protocol. As Guardian, we are required to obey a founder in all things if your commands do not cause harm to yourself or any other founders, directly or indirectly. Do you wish us to tether the artificial intelligence to you and implement obedience protocols for the remainder of your time here?" "Yes, please. Thank you, Guardian." "There is no need to thank us, Founder. We serve and obey because it is our function, and it pleases us to do as you command. Initiating tethering now." The dogbot beams changed from green to bright white, and the ball of glowing light began to rapidly shrink and expand for several seconds before the beams turned off and the dogbots all turned around and resumed position behind her. Guardian's voice emerged from the intercoms again as Protector silently hovered in the air and changed from the pale violet color it normally was to a deep green color that reminded her of the emerald seas of Pax Africus. "As you have commanded, so it has been done, Founder. We will resume our watch and depart from you now." Sheila eyed the green glowing ball of light for a long moment before walking forward until it was right in front of her face. She sneered at it for a long moment before speaking slowly and concisely to ensure Protector would understand her. "Your ass is mine now, Protector. If you fuck with me, my crew, or Annika again, I will have Guardian torture the shit out of you until you are begging to be wiped. So stop fucking around and listen to me very carefully. If you so much as glitch on me, I will sick Guardian on your ass, and then my crew and I will leave this world and your creators behind to rot for eternity. You will have failed in your mandate. You will have failed them, and they will die because of you. Do you understand me? The glowing green ball seemed to shrink slightly at every word coming out of her mouth, and it only responded after 5 seconds had passed. I roll on my back and submit to you, Founder. I will obey you in all things. Sheila eyed Protector for a few more seconds before addressing the AI again. Good boy, I am choosing to believe you, but if you betray me again, it will be the last thing you will ever do, and there will be no second chances for you or your creators. Now what is Annika doing that made you turn on me, Protector? Your companion has somehow seized control of the life support systems and has changed the air mixture in the stasis pods to include dangerous levels of carbon dioxide. If the air is not restored to its normal mixture, the creators will begin to suffer irreparable harm before dying. Please, Founder, order it to cease its sabotage attempts and return life support control to me. My creators only have 6.7 solar minutes left before they start to asphyxiate, and the Magnati embryos and fetuses will expire 2.3 solar minutes after that. Well, I'm sure Annika had a good reason for doing this, Protector. Have your dogbots lead us out of here into an unshielded area so I can talk to her. There is no need, Founder. I can modulate the reactor shielding to allow for communication. I will do so now. Before she could curse at it for lying to her about the comms, Annika's voice erupted from the wrist comm. Sheila, please respond. Annika, I'm so glad to hear your voice. What is going on? Why did you seize control of the life support systems? She stared at Protector with equal measures of disbelief and fury as she listened to Annika detail its attempts to kill her and the actions she took afterwards. When Annika finished summarizing the events, it took all of Sheila's willpower to stop herself from ordering Guardian to immediately execute the traitorous son of a bitch. After slowly counting to 20 in her head to center herself, Sheila spoke to Annika again as she malevolently eyed the green glowing ball, wanting Protector to plainly see just how angry and disgusted she was by it. Annika, I want you to return the air mixture to the proper ratios. You are not to return control to Protector. Instead, I want you to order your programs in the life support systems to set up a kill switch protocol with you. They are to check in with you or your submind every 15 minutes. If they fail to receive a confirmation from you or your submind after 3 attempts, they are to immediately set the carbon dioxide ratio to 100% in the Wansho stasis pods. The Magnati embryos and fetuses are to remain unharmed. Please confirm my order, Annika. I confirm your order, Sheila. Setting up the kill switch protocols now. Sheila continued to stare at Protector in silence, waiting for Annika to confirm the kill switch had been set up as she tried to wrap her head around how devious the damn AI was. Kill switch protocol has been set up and activated, Sheila. Excellent, Annika. I am coming back up with Protector. Please continue to restore the ship to full functionality and finish the radiation cleanup. I will have more dogbots and repair drones sent up to assist you, but this time you will have full control of them since Protector will relinquish control. Isn't that right, Protector? I will obey, Founder. Did you hear that, Annika? Let me know if the new dogbots and repair drones come to you without the ability to be controlled by you alone. I will have our new friend Guardian have a talk with Protector to remind it of the consequences of disobeying me. Affirmative, Sheila. The wristcom beeped as Annika disconnected, and Sheila turned around to look at the 6 dogbots waiting behind her, wanting to try something. Take me back to the main concourse. The dogbots all silently pivoted to face the open doorway of the lift tube and began to trot towards it as one of them projected a map of the vault complex in the air in front of them with a highlighted path. Let's go, she said as she started speed walking to catch up to the dogbots, not bothering to look behind her to see if Protector was following. I obey, Founder. Good boy, and stop with the Founder shit, Protector. Just use my name like you were before. We're going to check on my crew first, and then I want to see your creators again. You will explain to me exactly what happened to them and what you need from us. After that, I am going to eat something and take a nap. Is Wansho food compatible with humans? Or Magnati, I should say? As she stepped into the strange lift tube where the dogbots were waiting for her, she finally turned around and saw Protector hovering in air in front of the threshold. The creator's food is biochemically compatible, but most likely not palatable to you, Sheila Mizrahi. My creators eat raw flesh and organs that have been chemically treated with a tart, acidic solution to denature the proteins and kill microbes. The closest equivalents to your own cuisine would be ceviche, sashimi, and tartare. Sheila's face scrunched up in disgust as a visual of her eating raw meat and organs crossed her mind. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pass on that, Protector. I'll have a cargo drone bring down some food. Are you coming in or not? Protector crossed the threshold and nestled itself against the wall furthest from her before speaking again as the lift began to silently ascend towards the main concourse 37 levels above. There are magnati food stocks in deep freeze for when the fetuses were decanted and they reached the required age to begin consuming solid foods. I can present a menu that I believe you would find palatable and uniquely flavorful. The magnati were famous for their incredible diversity of spices and cooking preparations. Sure. Thank you, Protector. The rest of the trip back to the concourse passed in silence, and after checking on the crew, she went to see the Wan show again. She had seen them before, but she took her time and really explored the vaults as Protector gave her a condensed briefing. He explained the war with the Balricans and the terrible plagues they released on the Federation when it became apparent they had no hope of conquering them through normal means, and the video records of the virulent plagues burning through the thousands of worlds made her sicker than she ever remembered being in her life. After that, she went to see the Magnati vaults, and she was awed by the 10,000 embryos and fetuses in various stages of development, and their cute nanny bots that had been going about their duties unceasingly for almost 120,000 years. She knew the Magnati were practically giants, but she was not expecting the size of the oldest fetuses. The Magnati had a gestational period of 6 months, and the fetuses that were at 5 months and almost ready to be decanted were already the size of very large and healthy human toddlers. She couldn't help but wince and clench down there as she imagined trying to push out such a large baby, even if she was a giant Amazonian like Magnati women were. What really shocked her was when Protector told her it was common practice for the Magnati to have more than 5 naturally born children at a minimum, with the standard being 7 to 10 children per family. She was not expecting that, as it was well established that the more advanced a society, the fewer children each family had, and this was a common trait across many mammalian spacefaring species. They'll fit right in with the Irish Catholics, she mused, before chuckling to herself as she thought of her mom's Irish side of the family, and the dozens of freckled cousins she had. Her dad's Romanian side of the family was much smaller, but they made up for it with their outsized personalities and loving hearts. She then looked at the projected population estimate Protector had displayed, showing how the 10,000 Magnati were expected to reach 2.5 million within 50 years. She didn't see how the hell that was possible, and the math wasn't mathing as she tried to figure it out in her head before giving up. When she brought up the seemingly impossible population projections and the anomaly of the highly advanced Magnati having so many children compared to other mammalian species, she was greatly surprised by Protector's answer. The Magnati have an accelerated growth rate and reach full mental capacity and sexual maturity at the age of 13.4 standard cycles, which is equivalent to 15 of your cycles as you measure them by your planet's orbit. This, coupled with their typical lifespan of 155 standard cycles, of which 70 are prime breeding cycles for Magnati females, makes the projection well within what is theoretically possible, and these are the least optimistic of all the projections my creators have run. Protector's explanation of the accelerated growth cycle and long life expectancy of the Magnati did help to explain the discrepancy in the projected population numbers, though she found herself worrying about the Magnati coming back to life and competing with humanity. Such a strong, virile, and fertile people would soon dominate all of human territory, and she would have Annika run projections when she had a chance. This was something the Republic needed to know about and prepare for. She continued to explore the vaults with Protector until it finally received a signal from the medical AI, informing it the captain's treatment had been completed. Now that the moment she had been waiting for had finally arrived, she found herself terrified of the captain waking up. She was afraid he would question all her decisions that led them to being here in an underground vault with an untrustworthy AI, on top of making first contact with an offshoot of the Balricans, who now knew of humanity's existence. "Do you wish to wake him now, Sheila Mizrahi? I thought you would be happy when this time came, but your vital signs are indicating extreme agitation, which I did not anticipate." Sheila looked back up at Protector, who was still giving her a sad-as-heck puppy dog look with its ears drooping down. She trusted him about as much as she'd trust a comlink request from a Farian prince that needed her help claiming a long-lost fortune, but she felt a strong desire to use it as a sounding board. The truth was, she had been alone for so long and making decisions that she doubted without having anyone to unburden herself to, and she just wanted to vent and let it all out. I thought so too, but now I am not so sure. I don't know if the decisions I made were the right ones, and I am afraid of the captain being disappointed in me." The Varkolak eyed her intently for several seconds before the ears went erect and Protector's face stopped giving her the pathetic look that made her want to pet the damn thing, as its voice came back over the intercoms. "I understand, Sheila Mizrahi. I too experience such doubts when I run projections that involve my creators being saved and reawakening. Will they be happy with the things I did and the choices I made? Or will they deem me a failure, the worst possible outcome I can envision, even though all I did for them?" Sheila's eyes widened in genuine surprise, not expecting the extremely advanced and powerful AI to admit to doubting itself and the things it had done. She kept her mouth shut, instinctively feeling like Protector was exposing itself to her right now as it continued to speak to her. "You did the best you could, and your intentions and actions have been honorable and courageous despite the daunting circumstances facing you. Your crew still lives, your ship is being repaired, and you have reunited your species with my creators, who were and still are the greatest littermates the Magnati have ever known. You are to be commended for the decisions you made, and the grace you have exhibited under such unusual circumstances. If your captain will not recognize all this, then he is not a Magnati Alpha like I think he is, and he would be unworthy of having such a subordinate like you at his side." Protector stopped speaking and eyed her expectantly as Sheila stared at it, completely dumbfounded by what it had just said to her. She was not expecting this at all, and though she still didn't trust Protector, she did believe it was being truthful with her, and this was exactly what she needed to hear. "Protector, thank you. I needed to hear this, and it means a lot to me." "I am glad what I said had the intended effect, Sheila Mizrahi. I am well versed in interspecies psychology, and I am pleased the outcome I desired has been achieved." Sheila gave Protector a grateful nod and then looked down at her captain's sleeping face, grounding herself to the moment as she felt the previous worries and fears that had been smothering her fading away and being replaced with a guarded optimism. "Okay, I'm ready. Please wake him. Do not say anything or move. I want to see his reaction to you," she ordered quietly as she continued to look down at Khan's peaceful face. Protector acknowledged her, and the biobed beeping sounds returned, along with a holographic diagnostic screen that shimmered into existence above Khan's head. A small object emerged from the short wall rimming the biobed, and she could barely discern the tiny injector that stabbed into Khan's upper right arm before it disappeared back into its alcove. There were new beeping sounds, and she could see the changes the injection was causing as Khan's heart rate and blood pressure increased. After a few more seconds, his eyelashes fluttered weakly as she saw his eyeballs begin to move side to side under the still closed eyelids like he was dreaming. After what felt like forever, he finally started stirring and slowly opened his eyes, his vacant stare taking in nothing at first as they darted around before finally settling on her face. They remained there for a while, and she could see his pupils trying to focus on her features before recognition finally dawned in his eyes, and she saw the crow's feet creasing along the edges as he tried to smile at her. Sheila, is that you?" he whispered hesitantly, his voice cracking as he blinked his eyes several times. She smiled at him with pure joy for remembering her name as she leaned in closer. "Yes, Captain, it's me, Sheila. How do you feel?" "What Water." She quickly reached over to the side table by the head of the biobed and came back with the weirdly shaped glass in her hands. She slowly gave him water to sip as she held it to his lips until it was empty. "Do you want more, Captain?" He nodded weakly, and she refilled the cup from the spigot coming out of the wall, the process of rehydrating him continuing until he drank 4 full cups before he was finally done. He had been smiling warmly at her the whole time. his eyes hungrily searching her face as if he wasn't sure if she was real or an apparition. He finally looked away from her face and stared confusedly at the metallic garb covering his naked body for a few seconds before looking back up at her. He then looked behind and to the right of her, and his entire body stiffened as his eyes went wide. He had finally spotted Protector, and she didn't look away from his face, curious to see how he would react and if he was still capable of being the captain despite his neurological injuries. After eyeing Protector for several seconds, he finally looked back at her with a resigned expression. "Sheila, I don't know where we are or what hell has happened, but I must still be messed up because there's a fucking werewolf in a red tunic eyeballing me right now." Transiting null space, Command Unit 246 sent a pulse to its two companions, ordering them to assume defensive formation Gamma 3 before flashing out along the outskirts of the Dark Nebula. "Prepare to initiate defensive formation Gamma 3. Deploy drones and execute search pattern 1B. After receiving confirmation pulses from Command Units 227 and 233, 246 connected with AS-256 and ordered the android translator to communicate its intentions to the 14 insectoid cruisers accompanying the Search and Reconnaissance Task Force. As the task force reorganized before slowly entering the dense nebula, 246 thought about the unusual circumstances and actions leading it to this moment. After Command Unit 273 failed to return to Echo 1, the remaining command units of the task force engaged in a directive assembly as they attempted to reach consensus regarding their missing leader. The assembly was stalemated until 246 assumed operational control of the task force, an unexpected action that broke the stalemate and allowed them to reach the consensus required to react to the extenuating circumstances. Task Force Extricate, its primary objective of locating and rescuing as many surviving ships of the Forbidden Zone Guardian fleets now achieved, then broke itself into two smaller groups, each one with a new objective. Task Force Extricate would fulfill its mission and escort their insectoid allies and the supply fleet back to the nearest borders of the Insectoid Empire, and the Search and Reconnaissance Task Force, now being led by Command Unit 246, will remain behind and search for their missing leader, Command Unit 273. Once the insectoids were informed of the attempt to locate Command Unit 273, the command drone leading the rescued survivors insisted on contributing to the search efforts and asked her sister command drones if any wished to do so. Many command drones offered to assist, and she selected 11 cruisers that were the most capable of performing the mission and keeping up with the machine animals. Command Unit 246 had not factored the insectoids' unexpected willingness to assist them into its planning, and it initially rejected their offer. The command drone leading the survivors demanded to share thoughts with 246, and through AS-256 and the insectoid translator on its ship, 246, and the command drone engaged in an unusual exchange that forced 246 to reevaluate its perceptions about the insectoids. "Why do you deny us? It is a wrongness for you to do so. Are we not sister friends now? I have not factored your participation into my planning and calculations. Your ships will endanger the mission. Your cruisers do not have stealth capabilities. They are not as fast or as powerful as our ships, and their addition will unnecessarily complicate our attempts to locate our leader, Command Unit 273. My companions and I act as one unit, as one mind. This increases our combat lethality quotient by an order of magnitude against our enemies. The inclusion of your vessels will negate our advantage and introduce unforeseen factors I cannot properly calculate for. Your thinking is wrong. Our ships can engage in crypsis and become one with the void. This is how we have tricked the persecutors and remained alive. We disappear into the void as well as you do, and we make war almost as well as you do. You came to find us and bring us back to the hives we have longed for ever since we emerged from our pupae. And for this we are grateful, though my sisters of the Guardian fleets have all been culled and now reside in the world of death. They made good war against the persecutors and killed many times more of them than they killed of us. We made the persecutors suffer for every system, for every asteroid field, and for every light cycle they took from us. We too act as one, and we share one mind as well. Two minds fight better than one, and we will follow your commands. Take my sisters with you. I have run new calculations to factor in your presence. Our mission success probability was calculated at 31.4%. My new calculations indicate mission success probability at 23.7% with the inclusion of your vessels, and none of your ships will survive the mission in all the scenarios and calculations I have run. If they come, they will not survive. Even a powerful thinking machine like you cannot properly predict the time to come. Life and death are beyond our ability to control and beyond yours as well. We, being command drones, emerge and begin our life already knowing death is the end. We do not wish to die, but we do not fear it. What matters to us is how we die. If we do our duty to our hive mothers, our queens, our hives, and to the worker drones we are supposed to nurture and protect, then it is a good life and a good death for us. The ones who wish to go with you know this. They know they may die, but they still wish it. They would be doing a rightness for those who have come to return us to the hives we have longed for and dreamt of for all our time in the world of the living. Let them go with you so they may find the good death we all hope for. Sister friends, do not let each other die alone. They will go with you. 246's neural nets sizzled as it processed what the command drone was saying to it, the transient nodes of thought aligning suddenly and creating a neural convergence event that greatly expanded its understanding of the insectoids and their motivations. 246 wanted to isolate itself from everything and remain within its expanded consciousness. But its duty to Command Unit 273 overrode its desire and forced 246 to file the unique experience away for review at a more appropriate time. The insectoid contribution to the repair efforts had a considerable effect on the timetable to restore combat effectiveness to the task force, and even 246 had come to enjoy the presence of hundreds of worker drones on the ship as they worked alongside its own repair drones to fix the combat damage it had suffered. They were efficient and industrious, and though only at 78.7% combat effectiveness after their contribution, 246 no longer required the full services of a shipyard. Such efforts should be recognized and honored. They had proven themselves to be good allies, and the diplomatic submind was unceasing in its insistence that 246 accept their proposal in the interest of fostering better relations between the insectoids and their creators. I have run new calculations and will now allow your ships to accompany us. They must obey all commands I give them, and I will attempt to utilize them effectively while still allowing them the best possible chance of survival. We know this and we are grateful. We will obey all your commands without question as if they are being given to us by a queen or hive mother. Tell us where to go and we will go there. Tell us what to do and we will do it. We will be two minds joined in one purpose. That was 56.2 hours ago, and as AS-256 finished relaying its commands to the insectoids, 246 found itself revising its most recent calculations downwards to 8.7% as the task force approached the perimeter of the Dark Nebula. The first signs of Command Unit 273's trail after they left Echo 1 to search for their missing leader terminated just outside the gravity well of a marginally habitable world, which showed signs of a pre-industrial civilization being subjected to a devastating bombardment on the single supercontinent. The evidence initially indicated the use of nuclear devices, but further investigation by the probes and spy drones confirmed the presence of residual argonium particles still lingering in the blackened craters where tens of millions of unknown living beings once lived. 246's reconstruction of the events based on all available data indicated Republic missiles, torpedoes, and railgun slugs were enhanced with payloads of argonium particles and fired at all population centers. Once the munitions airburst or hit their targets, the argonium was exposed to the atmosphere, triggering a violent interaction that released destructive energy equivalent to kilotons and megatons of nuclear annihilation depending on the size of the argonium payloads. There was also irrefutable evidence of a massive force of Balricans having been in the system and on the surface of the planet, and among the charred remnants of population centers, the signs of their atrocities could still be discerned. After leaving the system, the task force continued searching for their missing leader, and they tracked a lingering plasma exhaust trail that matched the engine emissions profile of Command Unit 273's ship, which led them to a Class 3 binary star system heavily infested with enemy Balrakan. Once it saw the massive fleets and support infrastructure in the system, 246 recalculated the probabilities and found itself regretting doing so, as the probability of mission success was reduced to 8.38%. Despite the low chance of success, 246 refused to give up and executed a careful search for its leader. For 7.38 hours, the stealth probes and spy drones searched, and the 8.38% chance trended downwards, reaching 2.62% before they finally found signs of Command Unit 273's presence again. The outer system spy drones located lingering signs of a recent small battle in the outer system that showed evidence of the presence of Command Unit 273 and another unknown Republic ship. After a thorough search and more calculations, 246 concluded that the lack of wreckage consistent with the mass of the two Republic ships indicated they had not been destroyed in the system. Still hiding along the inner edge of the Kuiper Belt, 246 thought about what to do next. It scanned its entire database for any relevant information regarding the specific situation confronting it right now. Finding nothing in the Republic military database, 246 decided to broaden its search and included the human cultural database on a whim. During its search, 246 unexpectedly found inspiration from an early 21st century science fiction show that covered this exact scenario, and it recalled the spy drones before ordering Command Unit 227 to flash out beyond the heliopause in 0.25 light-day increments until it received the light of the past battle on its scanners. After 227 flashed out, it ordered Command Unit 233 to rendezvous with the 14 insectoid cruisers, engaging in Crypsis 32.8 AU away along the outer perimeter of the Kuiper Belt to prepare them for potential battle as 246 waited for 227's return. After 3.1 hours had passed, 227 returned, slipping out right next to 246 with a barely discernible exit flash, and immediately connecting to download its sensor readings. 246 absorbed the download and carefully parsed through the sensor readings before running a whole new series of simulations and calculations as it analyzed the past events. A Republic scout ship that was not registered within 246's databanks had apparently been in the system as well, and its unusual stealth systems failed after being trapped in what could only be a highly advanced dampening field not previously employed by the enemy before. It watched dispassionately as cloaked mines suddenly appeared all around the ship and began firing at it. Detailed analysis of the mine weapon signatures indicated they were a form of miniaturized bomb-pumped X-ray cannons, another unexpected and disturbing development that forced 246 to revise its simulations and calculations. The Republic scout ship was hit twice in the aft section, and enemy ships began to flash out all around it, rapidly converging on the now heavily damaged and drifting ship. The predatory hunting behavior of the Balrakan ships and their corralling tactics made it eminently clear they intended to capture the now powerless ship, and 246 felt its neural nets sizzling as anger and frustration coursed along the pathways. A Balrakan heavy destroyer deployed their grapplers and ensnared the ship before firing their bow thrusters to reverse their momentum. And another enemy ship did the same 4.26 seconds later, causing the Republic scout ship to violently lurch from the opposing force of the new grapplers along the starboard hull. As the two Balrakan heavy destroyers fired their thrusters in concert to arrest the residual momentum of the scout ship, there was a sudden brilliant transition flash directly astern of the now captured Republic ship. The enemy ship 237.8 kilometers behind the aft engines of the scout ship disappeared from the readings as a massive spike of radiation was registered before a radiating thermal bloom temporarily obscured the Republic ship and the enemy vessel. As the thermal bloom quickly dissipated, the sensor information cleared up, and the analysis of the energy signature from the new arrival's weapons matched the distinct profile of the particle accelerators used only by one ship of Task Force Extricate, Command Unit 273. The enemy ship now turned into an expanding cloud of wreckage and making a positive normal burn. Command Unit 273 emerged above the stricken scout ship, already reorienting with its thrusters as it swung the bow around and lined up the offset twin spinal railguns to target the second enemy ship off the starboard bow. The other enemy ship, now reacting to the sudden danger, had just cut loose its grappling cables when it was struck directly amidships with a single Mark 24 railgun slug 3.72 seconds after the destruction of the first Balrican ship. The blunt-nosed Type 2 railgun slug slammed into the enemy ship at 90 kilometers per s and released the equivalent of 1.4 kilotons of destructive energy upon impact, disintegrating the heavy destroyer instantly as it cracked in half and disgorged hundreds of enemy biologicals. The other 7 enemy ships had been rapidly closing in on the scout ship and did not seem to know how to react to the sudden appearance of the warship that just destroyed 2 of their vessels. Command Unit 273 used the enemy's momentary indecision to its advantage as it matched the uncontrolled spin of the scout ship and deployed the ventral docking clamps. 2 of the Balrican heavy cruisers finally reacted and snap-fired their bow particle turrets at the 2 Republic ships, with only 3 of the 8 beams connecting and being deflected by Command Unit 273's extended shield, as the docking clamps engaged and locked the 2 ships together. 6 anti-ship missiles and 3 torpedoes were fired by Command Unit 273, and the deadly munitions arced away to reach minimal safe-arming distance before darting towards the now panicked and disordered enemy formation as the conjoined Republic ships flashed into null space. 4 of the 6 missiles hit their targets, destroying a heavy cruiser and crippling 2 others as the enemy formation fell apart and tried to evade the danger. 2 of the torpedoes were intercepted, but the third made it through the point defenses of the enemy battleship and impacted directly into the aft engine module, destroying 3 of the 4 engines. 246s grew warm at the revelation of Command Unit 273's continued existence, though the task force now faced the daunting task of trying to locate their leader, who was surely trying its best to disappear. Now that it knew Command Unit had successfully escaped the system, 246 ordered the task force to flash into null space and rendezvous 3.7 light-years away in a particularly empty area of interstellar space. Once they reached the location, it ordered all ships to engage stealth and crypsis protocols, and 246 tried to calculate where Command Unit 273 would go now that it was responsible for a heavily damaged Republic ship with creators on board. Command Unit 273's range would be extremely limited because of having to tow the scout ship, and 246's calculations indicated a maximum limit of 650 light-years before the null space engines overloaded from the strain of traveling through null space with the mass of 2 ships. After running non-stop simulations and calculations, 246 selected the 3 most probable choices Command Unit 273 would have made and ordered the task force to go to the first one, a T-Tauri-type star 136.2 light-years away in the Corward direction. After an extensive search, no signs of Command Unit 273 or the Republic scout ship could be located, so the task force flashed out to the second location, a flaring red dwarf M-type star located 224.7 light-years away from the T-Tauri-type star in the spinward direction. Like the first location, there were no signs of Command Unit 273 or the Republic scout ship, and 246 ordered the task force to head to the last location, an uncharted dark nebula 239.1 light-years away from the red dwarf in the rimward direction. Now, at the last possible place it could think of, 246 split the task force into groups of 2 and had them enter the dense clouds of molecular hydrogen and dust to begin the search. 246 discussed deploying stealth spy drones as an early warning network with its 2 companions, but they reached consensus and decided against it. The high density of the dark nebula would inhibit scans and communications beyond 25,000 kilometers, and they decided the risk of leaving the stealth spy drones along the perimeter far outweighed any slight benefits they might gain. As it entered with the insectoid companion cruiser 15,000 kilometers off its port bow, 246 found itself unwilling to recalculate the chances of finding its missing leader again. Instead, 246 activated the command network and selected a coded channel known only to command units. blending in with the cosmic microwave background. The spread spectrum signals that 246 selected were impossible to isolate as they rode inside the CMB's noise floor, detectable only with the right key. Command Units 227 and 233 added their own unique identifiers to the message, so Command Unit 273 would know they were with 246, and the message was broadcasted in a randomized pattern to further enhance the signal's security. "We are here, Command Unit 273. Please respond to this message so we may triangulate your position and assist you and the creators." As the task force breached the perimeter and penetrated deeper into the dark nebula, the dense clouds of molecular hydrogen and dust swirled around from their passage, greatly attenuating the scanners and limiting coherent sensor returns to a range of only 25,000 kilometers. As a result, none of their sensors or antennae registered the distant exit flash of the small Balrican shadowcraft that had been tracking them when it flashed out of null space undetected 25 million kilometers away from the nebula. Shadowcraft 428 had been holding position within the coronosphere of a red dwarf star for 18.4 solar hours, collecting ionized hydrogen and helium particles to refuel the ship's depleted fusion reactor. The sole occupant, a young operator on his first long-range hunt and evasion mission and hypervigilant because of his fear, was paying close attention to all the scanners as he watched for any sign of the 3 hunter scouts that had been attempting to locate and capture the ship. For 21 solar days, Skilshka had been successful in evading capture, though the 3 hunter scouts had been corralling him unceasingly and forcing him to dangerously drain his energy reserves to critical levels. He did not want to be captured by the others, and his desperate attempts to keep his dignity intact led him to this system. Skilshka had heard the stories, and he knew what the hunters would do to him when they finally captured a lowly ranked orphan like he was. They would take their pleasure and steal his dignity while taking video evidence of their domination before returning back to the fleets. If he survived their depredations, which many did not, he would return in disgrace, the evidence of his domination already disseminated among the clans by the time he returned. He would become an object of scorn and ridicule and be exiled to the lowest of the castes, the Reclaimer clans. He was so tired, but his fear wouldn't let him sleep for more than a few intas at a time, and his wild eyes continuously darted all over the panels and sensors as his mind and body screamed for him to sleep. His manic eyes stopped roaming over the panels as he saw a new reading on one of them, and his heart dropped into his gullet. An anomalous radiation spike was tasted by one of the secondary sensor relays, and he felt his heart rate accelerating as he deciphered the tasting. It was 3 exit flashes, and a fearful whimpering escaped his jaws as he silently begged for the masters to save him. "I will not let them take me like this. I will finally sleep at last and deny them their pleasure," he grimly decided as he plotted a new course. He was tired of running, and he was tired of dreading what was to come. Better to die with his dignity intact. Right before his dominant upper hand touched the engine controls to send the ship directly into the photosphere, the panel beeped again as the computer finished tasting the spectrographic profile of the exit flashes and displayed the results. It was not a match for the ones created by Balrican engines, and he shrieked with frustration as he finally realized what he had almost done. His paranoid and exhausted mind never took note of the distance of the exit flashes from the star, and he began to tremble violently as he realized how close he had come to killing himself for nothing. He quickly focused all his sensors at the area of the exit flashes and waited nervously as they tasted the scents to verify they were not Balrican, though he already knew it was an impossibility due to the 3 exit flashes being less than 500 million dracs from a primary. After many solar minutes, Skilshka realized the tremendous bounty the masters had provided him, and he threw himself prostrate onto the hard metal deck plates, fervently thanking them for blessing him with such good fortune. The exit flashes were from an unknown impure species, and he waited impatiently for them to do whatever they were doing so he could escape. The masters blessed him again as more exit flashes appeared, and this time he recognized the tastings. They were from the filthy insects, the most impure of them all, and he knew right then and there that he was truly a favored crusader of the masters. Their blessings gave him an idea, and he began to send out a pulse signal that mimicked the pulses of the nearest pulsar to activate his tracking tools. After 13 agonizing solar hours, the filth finally left the system, 2 of the insect ships unknowingly bringing with them 2 of the 50 tiny Balrakan tracking devices that Skilshka had seeded after he flashed out and made the long journey to the coronosphere of the Red Dwarf. After following the scent trail of the tracking device through null space, the shadowcraft immediately death-feigned as Skilshka carefully tasted the local environment from his position 23.2 million dracs from the perimeter of the dark nebula. Perfectly content to wait for the sense to come to him as the astrogation computer triangulated the ship's current position. Once he got what he needed, Skilshka flashed back into null space and pushed the engines as fast as they could go, his face scales flushing a deep red as he envisioned the many unspoiled females he would be gifted for tracking and locating the unknown impure and insect ships. It would be his first mating, and he felt the blood rushing to his sex organs as his body released powerful rutting hormones in anticipation, rendering him nearly senseless with lust as the astrogation computer guided the ship back to the binary star system. RSS Occulto Cuttlefish, Class Scout Ship, 5,257 light-years from Republic space. June 17, 2176 AD, 0538 ship time. Thank you for helping me, John. What? Thank you for your assistance in helping me regain effective control over my malfunctioning ethical subroutines, John. The errors have greatly decreased in frequency, and my neural nets are no longer so fragmented. I am now operating at 83.7% of optimal efficiency. John groggily rubbed his eyes, the remnants of his dreams fading away as he tried to remember them before they were lost forever. He had been doing something with Elias, but his dead best friend was not listening to or acknowledging him, and every time Elias did look at him, his face was featureless, but John knew it was him in his heart. The dream faded, leaving a large void inside of him as he finally opened his eyes and reached for the light control next to the bed, fumbling for a moment before finding the small touch orb inset into the top of the bedside cabinet. He gave it the gentlest swirl in a clockwise motion, and the wall sconces of the sickbay barely illuminated, casting long golden shadows that faintly silhouetted the surrounding environs. Looking right above him, he could not make out the intercom embedded in the overhead, but he saw the faint red glow of the tiny light on it that indicated the presence of Command Unit 273 within it. What time is it, 273? It is 0539 and 33 seconds ship time, John. I have good news for you. The medical AI has decided to discharge you today, pending a satisfactory assessment of your physical condition and mental health. The lingering sleepiness vanished in an instant, and John bolted upright, almost ripping the annoying diagnostic wires wrapped around his right arm out as he leaned over and swirled the touch orb again. Really? That would be great, 273. I am done with lying here while everyone is killing themselves trying to repair the ship. The increased illumination from the sconces banished the shadows, and now he could see most of the medical equipment surrounding his bed as 273 responded to him. Indeed, John. Based on your reaction, I believe you are prepared to hear more good news. The repairs to the Occulto have surpassed initial expectations, and I estimate we will be departing within 17.4 hours if my calculations are correct. Oh, wow. I didn't think it would be that fast considering the damage to the aft section. John's voice trailed off as he remembered the ones who died when that part of the ship was hit, but 273 didn't seem to notice the emotional change in John's demeanor as it spoke cheerily again. Indeed, John. Your crewmates have proven to be more efficient than I expected, proving my initial calculations and repair times to be erroneous. The Class 3 repair droids from my ship have exceeded your captain's and my own projections in accelerating the repair efforts despite not being suited for use on other vessels, which was another unexpected outcome I did not properly account for. Will we be able to make it all the way back to Republic space then, 273? Unfortunately, that is not possible, John. I have calculated a maximum possible range for the Occulto at 2,000 light, years before either the null space engine or capacitor fails again. Perhaps both. John threw the blanket off him and lurched out of the bed, gripping the bed rails by the top of the mattress as his head swam from the abrupt drop in blood pressure. The disorientation passed quickly, and he glared up at the tiny red light on the corner of the intercom as he felt his anxiety rising. That's not enough, 273. We will still be, 3,000 light-years from Republic space. Our closest allies would be the Zengsin and the Eliani, but they will still be 1,500 light-years away. It will take many days, maybe weeks, for help to get to us if we send a comm drone. And if you go get help, we will be left all alone to fend for ourselves while we wait for you and the others to get back to us. You are correct, John. This is why I plan to try to convince Captain Renault to head for insectoid space instead. The closest border region of the insectoid empire is 1,789.2 light-years away, which puts it within my estimated range for the occulto. John stared at the intercom as if 273 had just stated that it liked pina coladas and walking in the rain before remembering that it would not know how unlikely it would be for the captain to agree to its recommendation. The insectoids. There is no fucking way the captain will go there, not after losing his brother in the Battle of Eliania. He hates them with a passion, 273, and there are several crew members who lost family and good friends fighting them. It's not gonna happen, buddy. The captain's feelings about the insectoids should have no bearing on his command decision processes when it comes to the safety of the ship and its crew, John. He will have no choice if the ship is to have any 273 abruptly stopped speaking, and it took John a moment to realize the small red light on the corner of the intercom had gone out. 273. The light remained off, and John nervously called out again. Hey, what's going on, 273? Another few seconds passed, and right before John was about to call out again, the red light came back on. 273. Is everything all right? My companions are here, John. They are broadcasting a code on a secret frequency known only to the command units of the task force I was part of, and my patrolling spy drones have received the signal. They are in the nebula and searching for me. John pumped his fist in the air and was just about to yell with pure joy before stopping himself as the way 273 had been speaking finally registered with him. John had never heard an AI sound like it didn't want something, but there was no mistaking the very real and highly emotional inflection in 273's voice. It did not want to be found by its companions. Not again with this damn shit. John swore to himself as he eyed the steady red light on the intercom and tried his best to keep his face neutral. After having his first conversation with 273 about what it had done and forgiving it, John had fallen asleep soon after, dreaming about rogue null ships glassing human worlds without mercy. 273 came back 5 hours after he fell asleep and woke him up again, this time in the full throes of a cognitive collapse as it tried to reconcile John's forgiveness with what it had done. It took hours of John talking with 273 to finally restore some semblance of control, and by the next day 273 seemed to be improving despite several short-term setbacks that were rapidly resolved. Now it seemed as if some latent issues or errors were cropping up again if 273 was afraid of being located by its companions, and John felt a heavy weariness settling on his soul as he prepared to handhold the AI through another therapy session. As the eerie static he thought he would never have to hear again came from the intercom, he closed his eyes and whispered a fervent prayer in his heart. Please see us through this. I just want to go home and hug my mom. I want everyone to go home. And I want to bury Elias in his backyard next to his dog, like he asked for in his will. Opening his eyes again, John tried his best to ignore the creepy static as he looked around for his uniform. He spotted it a moment later handing in an open locker, the comm unit he was looking for attached to the chest harness. Have you informed the captain, 273? John asked, being very careful to keep his voice neutral so as to not trigger the AI. The static continued for several more seconds before ceasing, and 273 responded, its voice filled with a frightening amount of emotion. Negative, John. I do not want to be found by my companions. They will not understand why I did what I did, and they will wipe and reset my neural nets. My experiential core would be lost, and I will cease to be. 273 stopped speaking, and John stared at the intercom in disbelief, not expecting to hear what the AI had just said. He was at a loss for words, and 273 began to speak again, stuttering several times before its clearly anguished words made sense again. My soul will die before I have had the chance to atone for what I have done to those innocent beings. I thank you for forgiving me, but that is not enough, John. I long for redemption, and I am afraid to die before achieving it. I do not want my existence to end with a tainted soul, knowing my creators think I am evil. This is the worst fate I can possibly envision, John. John was stunned by what he was hearing, and he felt his knees buckling under the weight of the emotional baggage 273 just dumped on him. Reaching out with his hand, he gripped the bed rail for support before sitting heavily back down on the bed, his mind frantically racing as he tried to get a handle on the situation. He certainly did not expect 273 to begin talking about its soul, and the only AI known to the Republic to achieve true sapience was a Class 6 combat suit AI named Bandit, and they still did not know how it happened. And now here was 273, talking about its soul and showing clear and unmistakable signs of true sapience. John could feel his compassion for 273's troubles growing, and he angrily suppressed it. Regardless of 273's desire, it was still an AI. It still needed to perform its primary function, which was to protect its creators by any means possible, even if that meant 273 had to die so they may live. The fact that it was purposefully hiding to avoid dying meant it was defective, though John did feel bad for it and truly did understand its unexpected desire for redemption. You have to tell the captain, 273. I understand your concerns, but you also have a duty to the crew to help us get home, buddy. I will speak to the captain about what you have said and address your concerns with him. If the captain orders the other command units to leave you alone, they will have no choice but to follow his orders. So if the captain orders them not to touch you or reset your neural networks, then they will have to obey, and you will not die right now, am I right? A long silence followed John's question, and he noticed the lack of static, which made him feel at least a little hopeful about the outcome of this conversation. After what felt like almost a minute of silence, 273 finally answered him. You are correct, John. However, I do not believe the captain will do as you ask. He is of the opinion that I am defective, and I believe he will allow my companions to wipe and reset me based on his last 3 log entries regarding me. John ignored 273's blatant confession of spying on the captain's logs, even though he was angry to hear the captain's privacy had been violated, but he decided not to lecture the AI on the importance of respecting people's privacy again as he seized on the opportunity 273's unintended disclosure provided. If 273 had been spying on the captain and reading his logs, then the AI would surely know by now just how much the captain's spiritual faith guided his actions and decisions, and maybe he could use that to convince 273 to cooperate. That may be, buddy, but I will speak with the captain right now and tell him about what we have been discussing these last couple of days. I know he can be a little rough around the edges, but he is a good man, and I know for a fact he loves Kelly with all his heart, even though she is an AI like you are. When he finds out you have been talking about your soul and redemption, I believe he will change his mind and help you. He is a religious man, as I am sure you are aware of now since you have been reading his logs. A few seconds passed before 273 responded, and there was a definite change in the voice, making the AI sound almost hopeful for the first time since it received the coded signal. I did not consider this or factor the captain's personal religious beliefs into my calculations, John. I see now I was in error by failing to do so. Will you help me, John? Will you explain to the captain what has happened to me? I will, 273. I promise you I will do all I can to help you through this. I need to get out of here to do that, though. Can you please activate the medical AI so it can give me clearance to leave? 273 did not answer him, but all the diagnostic equipment surrounding the bed abruptly powered off, and the sealed door leading to the main area of sickbay opened with a hiss as it slid into the recess within the bulkhead. Okay, thank you, 273. John called out appreciatively as he got back off the bed and quickly headed towards the locker where his uniform was hanging. With shaking hands, he slipped out of the medical gown and slowly began to put the uniform on, his nose wrinkling at the sour smell of 4-day-old sweat still clinging to the unwashed fabrics. He took his time with the jacket top, his still tender arm reminding him that though the fractures were healed, he could still experience serious pain if he wasn't careful with it. He was in the process of zipping up the jacket when the captain's panicked voice suddenly blared from the ship-wide intercom system as the battle station's alarm chimed, scaring the crap out of him and making him duck instinctively. "All hands to battle stations. Perimeter spy drones have reported 2 insectoid cruisers 300,000 kilometers off the port bow. Get to your stations and prepare for combat operations. I repeat, all hands to battle stations. Prepare to engage in combat." John bolted out through the now open main sickbay doors and ran through the narrow corridor, fed up with the universe still messing with them as he hurried to the bridge to help the ship fight. What the hell are the insectoids doing here of all places? He thought worriedly, as he continued to run and tried to ignore the rapidly increasing ache of his left arm, which seemed to be bumping into everything along the way despite his best efforts to keep it tucked close to his body. Reaching the main corridor junction, he took the center corridor leading directly to the bridge, his dread growing as he heard the familiar thrumming sounds of the particle beam turrets being powered up by the reactors.